So you've been playing with Written by Wolves. Would you be going on 10 years? Is that
Oh God,
close?
please don't say it's 10 years. Nah.
I know it's probably not 10, but it's close, right?
No, I suppose we're 7. So
Yeah.
so that's we're sliding toward the 10.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And that's got a lot of old friends in it as well, and a lot of people that we've known for ages that we've all played in different bands with.
And yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So we kind of managed to. The Wolves was all people predominantly that we'd been trying to start a band with for years. But everyone fell out of bands at the wrong time, and we never got to steal each other.
Yeah, cool. But you made it happen. So that essentially the band just came. I've never really asked you. The band just came about. Friends from different bands. The stars aligned, and you were able to jam together.
Yeah, we finally we talked about it for a while, and it never kind of worked. And I mean, Dave, who is one of the guitarists in the band, was one of the first people that I became friends with when I moved to Auckland after Idol. And we'd planned on doing this for ages, and then me and David Beach started writing some stuff, and then that kind of wasn't meant to be either. We almost started it was almost like a full-on pop band.
Right.
Yeah, it was amazing. We started writing some tunes, and we were like, yeah, we're gonna be like One Direction. We weren't going to be like One Direction, but we wished we were. We're all probably too old by then anyway. But then finally, kind of, we sat down one day, and I think Beej had been in America, and we came back, and this kind of idea floated again, and we sat down, and we're like, right, what are we gonna, should we do this? And we all said, right, like, if we're going to do this, it's got to be different to anything we've ever done before. Like, we didn't want to just recreate Five Star or recreate Shotgun Alley, who all the boys had been in before that. So it was like, right, what are we going to do? And we kind of had this kind of idea of basically taking everything that we liked about music and trying to smash it together into one weird thing, and taking bits from hip hop and taking bits from electronic music and taking bits from pop music and taking bits from rock music, and just going, let's just see what happens.
Yeah, man.
And it kind of started to work, and we were like, this is really cool, and it just kind of kept going, and here we are today.
Yeah, man, fantastic.
In between Five Star, Fallout, and Written by Wolves, what other work did you do in the industry, and how have you managed to make a career in the creative world?
That's actually quite a cool question, to be honest. So after Five Star did this, like, we kind of went out in a blaze of glory, basically. Like, we went to the States and we toured there for 3 months, and we had this great booking agent, and we got on some really good tours and things like that. And we played some really good showcase shows over there, and had some good label interest, and there was one that was super keen. They were like, right, go home for Christmas and we bring you back, blah blah blah. And then we had this massive falling out with our manager at the time, which we'd kind of had already started while we were in the States, and so that kind of basically just went, and it was which is I'm completely fine about now. Probably 10 years ago, if you'd asked me, I might have still been like crying a touch. But and so then after that it was like, right, what do I do now? And so I kind of bounced around for a little bit, and I was working with a guy at the time, and it was actually there was a bit of overlap, so I wasn't overly worried about what happened. But so this guy, a really good friend of mine who owned an ad company called Liquid Studios, basically approached me around that time and was like, look, I've got this crazy thing that I'm doing. And so I did heaps of work with him on ad stuff. Yeah. And he said, look, I've written Romeo and Juliet into a rock opera. or I'm in the process of doing it, and I want you to sing all the Romeo parts. And so we start doing this, and this thing gets wilder and wilder, and he and I become closer and closer, and it just kind of got to this, like, we had this crazy writing relationship where he would, like, sing me this weird monotone line, and I would know exactly what he wanted me to sing. And so we wrote this incredible musical. It's super cool. Like, it's all from the original text of Romeo and Juliet,
right.
But and cool. Like, and rock songs, and there's heaps of hip hop in it and stuff. It's like there's like heaps of he got heaps of crazy, because he worked with everyone, so he got all this, like, Dane Rumble's in it, Lapi Mariner, like some really 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 great Jackie Clark's in it, the really amazing Kiwi singers. Yeah. And so we ended up making a movie of it, but it was all like lip sync. So they had all these like crazy weird, like, it was all set in a trailer park for the movie. The movie got really wild, right? Because it was this sort of weird idea. Everything got kind of weird, and it was like,
how have I missed this?
And it was, well, yeah, and this is it's okay. Actually it's a great story, but it's kind of unfortunate. Okay. And so the movie happened. It was super rad, and then we were actually looking at, we're starting to adapt the stage show to get it on, and so a really big school called ArtsEd in England put like their third years did it, and Andrew Lloyd Webber saw it, and he was he's part of that school, and
Wow.
so he took them off for meetings and things like that, and it was all getting quite exciting, and I was apparently then going off to New York to do it in a theatre festival over there, and things were all happening, and then the poor bugger had a stroke.
Oh no.
And it just all sort of, he was this driving force behind this incredible thing. And he's still alive to this day, and he's an amazing, beautiful man. But that project kind of like saw its kind of time, which was, it was super cool to be a part of, like a really, really amazing thing. And so that was kind of where I started just doing more and more session stuff, and that's where that kind of side of things happened. So I did that project, and then I bounced straight to another movie, and wrote some stuff for another movie about the people that started Radio Hodaki. So it was called 3 Mile Limit, and wrote some songs for them, which was super cool. So like in this kind of like time that was bouncing around, like I kind of did worked on some movies and did this stuff, and then was like, right, I'm going to get back into musical theatre. I kind of have this kind of tendency to do that, like like a band ends and you go, oh okay, I'll go scratch that that other itch, like we talked about fingers and pies and things like that.
Yeah.
And so 5 Star had ended, and I started working on that stuff, which made me go, oh yeah, I should do some more theatre again and things like that. And then so I did a stage show called Rent, which was at the Civic. And so Rent at the time was like this huge show, and
I remember
got to play this this great role, and so I actually met my wife in it now.
No way.
And so we started working. So we started singing, and we did that show, and then we started singing together. We liked our voices. Like she's like this really amazing, legit, like kind of musical theatre singer.
Yeah.
And I am not. And so we really liked the way our voices worked together. So we started doing more corporate work together and things like that. So we created our kind of corporate covers band, and so we started doing that and bounced between shows and doing that and things like that. And then I did a few more pro shows, went down to Christchurch and did Grease for 3 months down there.
Cool.
And now I never ever in my life have to sing Grease Lightning again, because
Done it.
I've paid my dues on that one. They've got a great theatre. So I mean, I suppose like bouncing back a little bit to your story, your question about people being worried about parents being worried about how do you make a career and stuff. And there's so many different aspects in this country of ways that you can do stuff. So there's a great theatre company. I mean, there's lots in Auckland, and then there's this great one in Christchurch called The Court, and they do professional shows all year round, and they they then every year do like a summer musical. And so I did Grease down there for 3 months, I think, which was cool. So like a whole summer of dancing on a car and singing Grease Lightning. But they do that every year.
That's so
I mean,
great.
my point I suppose is that they are constantly tuning, and they're actually doing Rent this year, I think. So there's all sorts of aspects that you can bounce around. There's so many things that you can do. So I went through my musical theatre phase again for a while, and then scratched that itch, and then was like, right, that's when the kind of time that the band, everyone was, I think Shotgun Alley broke up, and that was it meant the boys got together and were like, right, let's start
Back
something
into
else.
rock band mode.
Yeah.
I love
Right,
it.
done.
Awesome.
Let's go.
Awesome, man. That's so
That's
cool.
so
It's
good.
cool to be able to bounce around like that.
It's a great industry for that. There's so many aspects, and there's probably aspects of your kind of talent that at the age that you're at whatever age you are that you don't know yet, that you don't even like, that you go, oh, I'd like to do that. And then you give it a stab and you go for it. And like I'm still doing musical theatre, and as far as the musical theatre world goes, I'm quite different because I'm this kind of raw, gritty kind of rock voice. And you not trying to make everything perfect, and so that's kind of what makes it cool. So even if you think that you don't fit into that box of what the thing is, that doesn't mean there's not a place for you in that.
I know what you're saying.
What do you, just slightly going off script here, but the other question we get asked a lot from parents is like, what can they do to support their kids, that want to do music? Like, what do you feel?
I think like
their role is?
I think they've got such an important role, and it's a hard one, because it's one that you've got to kind of live in the moment with, I think, because I think there's a really fine line with music and kids in particular between like seeing a genuine passion and love and pushing that and being able to push that right. Like I don't want to tell someone to go and just like go, yep, they're awesome. I'm gonna push and push and push and push and
Mm.
Yep,
push.
yep.
But also as a as a kid and a teenager and things like that, sometimes the push is what the kid needs.
Yeah.
So it's really about being really aware, I suppose, and aware as possible
Mhm.
about how much to push and when to push, and going, look, if they want to quit, going, look, you love this,
Mm.
yeah, and you do, you've got to remember that, or going, yeah, no, now's
You
the
need
time.
space, yeah.
But I think, and for so much of it, the parents' role is so important, and it's almost more important. Like, I was very, very lucky to have really, really supportive parents, and
Mhm.
my mum drove me around everywhere,
Yeah.
constantly. Like, she
Mm.
was just, she was putting drum kits and stuff in the back of her tiny little car and carrying whole bands around
Yeah.
it, and and amps and things, and taking us out to things and doing this, or sitting at musical theatre rehearsal till 10 o'clock at night, or
yeah.
and that's it's, I don't want to scare any parents off,
yeah, yeah.
but it is like the parents' role is so important, because my mum and my dad doing all of that stuff, and it fostered, they saw that there was a love there, and they were able to keep going. But I think, like, as it continues,
Yeah.
it's really just about trying to be as aware as possible, which I know is also hard, especially once you've got teenagers and things like that, about where they're at with it, and trying to foster the love and keep the passion going.
Yeah.
But also, seeing when maybe that's not there, and letting maybe have a rest, or things
Yeah.
like that. I think as far as progressing further into a career goes, it's really just continuing that awareness and just being there and being supportive. I mean, I think when, like, once Idol happened, I was 17 and I was going to lunches with record companies and things like that, and my dad was by my side the entire time.
Yeah, it's so great.
He had no idea about what the hell was going on,
Yeah.
but he also had a really good business sense, so he could go through contracts and things like that. But it was just kind of like being there and just going. He didn't really know.
Yeah.
It was stepping into it, like, he was a farmer from Taupo.
Oh,
And was stepping into a world that he did not really
My dad's the
understand.
exact same,
Yeah.
but he sounds like your dad. They probably get along.
Yeah,
They're probably
yeah.
about the same age.
Yeah.
But it was the
it's-
exact same thing.
It's really just being as supportive as you possibly can, and I know that's a pretty vague and not always easy thing to kind of,
Yeah.
because what does that mean? But that's it. What does that mean? But also every situation's different.
Yep.
And I think it's just take an interest and be there, and try and foster the passion as much as you can.
Yeah.
And if it's not there, it's not there.
Yeah, don't push.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah.
Yeah, man.